Good day, everybody. How's it going out there? Well, since the last video that we talked about Mark Milano and one of the founders of the furry fandom, unfortunately, Cy Sable has passed away. Since that recording, it was on February 20th. Glad that he didn't suffer too long. He had been in hospice for only about a few weeks. You hope that things recover, but sometimes they don't. And since they haven't, we move on and we move forward as a fandom, and we'll continue to keep moving forward and try to continue making a good community, because that's what he would want us to do. And I think that there's a lot there when looking around the furry community and the people who work really hard to maintain it and keep it going. I think there's a lot he can be proud of, and hopefully we can continue in that legacy. All right, and that being said, Furry Weekend Atlanta. So this week's video, we're going to be talking about Furry Weekend Atlanta, but not about the thing you think I'm going to be talking about. It's just a little kind of side topic, and goes into like finance and spreadsheets, which are two of the things that I do when I stress out or have like emotional turmoil. It's like I like spreadsheets and numbers, and I feel comfort in them. It's weird. A lot of furries would find that weird, because usually those things are what cause a lot of furry stress. But before that, about in mid-February, I was told by a friend that I had a option to hang out with them at Furry Weekend Atlanta, and I approved. So I will be going to Furry Weekend Atlanta this year, and of course that means I needed to get a attendance badge. Now, a lot of people, I think a majority of furries just buy attendance, and that's what I did this year. As a furry who's been going to conventions since 2011, I've done regular attendance, I've done sponsorships, I've done super sponsorships. Long of the short is, personally, as far as experiences go, usually attendance is like, it gives me, like, I usually feel the most free when I'm just doing a regular attendance. I don't have any like pre-planned like sunk cost things like, oh, I got to get to this dinner, or I got to go to this thing. It just works better for me, even though I dabbled in it. That's sort of my personal experience with it. But what's right for me is not right for everybody. So we are going to discuss what is a good value and what isn't a good value. And I think Furry Weekend Atlanta provides a great opportunity to talk about this, because there are some decent packages, and there are some packages that I don't think is good for anybody. And even though I just said, some things are good for some people and some things are not, I will try to add a caveat of what I think the right person to buy a particular package would be. But in certain cases, it's not going to be a lot of people. And for two of the particular packages. What are those two? Well, we're going to find out right now. So, buckle in. So, the packages at Furry Weekend Atlanta. So if you go to the Furry Weekend Atlanta registration page, you're going to see this list of different options that you have. And we're going to work our way from the least expensive to the most expensive, or at least the way they have it ordered on the sheet. They actually have, click over here to the last one. They do have at-the-door pricing at the bottom, and while these are the lowest price options, at-the-door pricing for a single day is usually never worth it. You're usually getting charged 75% to 90% of at-the-door price. For instance, the Saturday only is $90, Friday's $75, Sunday's $75, and that's 75%. Like, it's because the at-the-door price for the whole weekend is $100. So unless you're really wanting to only go for one day for whatever reason, it's really not worth not just paying the whole $100. Obviously, as soon as you pay for 2 days, like, you've already spent more than that thing. So most people usually don't go for that. Usually if you're going to go to a convention, you're going to go for the whole weekend. So you want to try to get the early bird pricing for attending if it's available. In this case, it is for $85. There's not much to say about attending. It's the vanilla. It is the peanut butter and jelly. Every convention is going to have a plain vanilla attending badge, and if you want to attend, you gotta buy it, at least that. So obviously, that's the value proposition. You want to attend, you buy an attending badge. To me, but it also is strong because it gives you the most valuable freedom. You're supporting the convention, but you're not obligated. You have no obligations. You're free to run wild. You can go to whatever panels you want, whenever you want. You don't have to be at a certain place at a certain time for dinner. You don't have to worry about getting in like special lines or anything. You just follow the crowd and just go with it. And it's, it's not. Some elitist furries might look down on them, but I think it's like, it's definitely like absolutely nothing wrong with it. And for most furries, most furries are not even gonna look at the other options because it's not like you have much of a choice, right? Because obviously finances are tighter, conventions are getting more expensive all the time. Maybe even before I think coronavirus, like $50 early bird was a common thing. Now it's, 75 is like is now pretty low, right? So back when I was a furry in 2011, you're gonna have convention prices of like $35 or $25. Yeah, you just can't buy what you anyway. Let's not spend too much time on attending because there's a bunch of other stuff to get to. For instance, sponsor. So sponsor, like, this is where, after attending, this is where conventions start to get a little more creative. They want to get your money. They want to get you your money's worth. They want to give you a good value, a good package, and a good different style badge or something so that you can just feel like that you're contributing more to the convention. But it's important to understand that as a trade, things go both ways. Obviously, as a sponsor or somebody supporting the convention, your money, like, obviously they should be getting somewhat of a better return on their investment in your expenditure, and the pride that you get is important. But it's also important not to get some value out of what you're doing, and if the extra proposition is good. So what you can do really quickly is know the difference between the expenses and what do you get in return. So at early bird, we're just going to do early bird, but even the interesting thing about this is early bird and at the door, quote, standard, it's listed as standard here, their distance between each of these is the same. So $100 becomes $160 for the sponsor, $85 becomes $145 for the sponsor. That's a $60 difference irregardless. So you're paying $60 more for a sponsorship. So what do you get with that sponsorship? Well, you get the full weekend attendance, just like the attending badge does, and you get a t-shirt. And I'm thinking of a song made back 11 years ago. Back in my day, there was a song called Thrift Shop. And they go, that's $50 for a t-shirt. But no, inflation, sir, that's $60 for a t-shirt. So is it a good value? This is the first one that I'm going to say absolutely not. The only exception that I can think of is if you are a person who needs to collect the t-shirts and you need to collect them ASAP, right? Like, because here's the thing. I'm gonna teach you something here. If you go onto the store on the Furry Weekend Atlanta site, you can find a 2023 t-shirt from Furry Weekend Atlanta for $25 right now. So that means if you wait patiently enough, you could probably get a t-shirt for the 2024 Furry Weekend Atlanta for $25 or $30 or whatever inflation happens next year, right? You don't have to spend $60 right now for it. And by the way, that's the only benefit you get for doing sponsorship. So in this case, no deal in my mind, except if you're that like t-shirt connoisseur that I was talking about earlier. What would have made it worth it to me? Well, there's a thing on the silver sponsor. I think there's one item that they should have probably moved up from the silver sponsor, and I think that is the priority registration line. Not the events, not the gift, just the registration line. I think if they moved that up there, maybe made it 155, right? Then I would be a little bit more, because registration lines can get a little long, and some people may pay a little bit more of a premium to get past there a little bit, and then the t-shirt's just kind of like a sugar sweetener, right? So I think that would have pushed the value a little bit. It's like that's the whole trade thing, right? It's like that would have pushed it into the value territory, I think, that where I would have considered that. But nope, I wouldn't consider sponsor, and I don't think most people should, unless you really, really, really want to buy a $60 t-shirt. If you wait till the convention and you go to like the Sunday, Sunday dealer's den, and like they have the t-shirts there for sale, I'm sure you'll find it for less than 60. They gotta, I'm sure. But if you don't want to risk it, and you have like a collection of if you have a collection of t-shirts for every convention you went to, maybe, okay? Just that's the only time I can think. But I'm repeating myself, so let's move on. Silver sponsor. This one you get the full weekend long access, the t-shirt. So the new things are you get a silver gift, you get a priority registration line, you get priority events at select events. So this is one where it depends. If you really, really, really like going to the mainline events at a particular convention. By the way, Furry Weekend Atlanta was the first convention to have the fursuit dance competition. And that's one of the main staples of a lot of furry conventions these days. So if you want to be at the front of the have better seating for those particular events, right? Watching the fursuit dancers, doing the Who's Lines panel. I don't know if Who's Line panel is included in that. Certain things are included in that. Be familiar with what the main event panels are and which ones have priority seating. And it's kind of hard to make that decision now because but if you are considering that, you probably know what the mainstream events are and the ones that you want to really sit in the front row for. So I would say go for it. Absolutely. If you have the gumption, if you have the money, no harm, no foul. That's nothing much to talk about there. It's that. Gold sponsor is the next one on the list, $450, so that's like $200 more ish higher than the other one. And unfortunately, it's in this bright yellow text that I can barely read in my old man glasses. But basically, it's the same as the silver stuff, except for you get access to a Discord channel, gold Discord channel. You get early access to the dealer's den, gold lounge, gold dinner, and gold gift. Now, this one might be a good proposition value because usually the lounge has nom-noms that you could eat on. So it could be worth it in that case. But at the same time, you could probably spend a lot less, in bringing your own snacks or stuff like that, or going to a local store and buying a bunch of snacks or foods, and then also going out to dinner. You could probably because if you're talking about just attendance versus sponsors and stuff like that, I'm surprised I haven't seen any guest of honor stuff on here. I guess the gold dinner might be with a guest of honor. Usually they have a guest of honor thing on here, but I don't see that on here. Maybe Furry Weekend in Atlanta doesn't do guests of honor, and honestly, that's if they don't, I don't have any qualms with that. A lot of people don't go to furry conventions for guests of honor as much as they used to, and I think if furry conventions start moving away from that, I don't think it would harm them. It might be a weird thing to drop a tradition like that, but it is what it is. It might be that it's implied, but usually the gold dinner usually has the guest of honor at it. Usually, so like if you're a person who really wants to like see the guest of honor, then that's a good opportunity. But usually, like, guest of honors are pretty busy at conventions, so you really don't have a great opportunity to see them unless you're at a specific panel or something. Usually, bothering them while they're eating is not good form. But basically, if it's one of those things that I definitely wouldn't put my nose up at this. If I were to choose between silver and gold, I would probably go with silver. Like I usually don't like getting coerced into dinners or lounges or things like that. But if you are a person who needs to have the lounge, right? If you need to have a good quiet place to hang your head, that's a good opportunity for you to do that. It's obviously it's getting up there. It's getting pretty expensive, but for some people that's worth the value, and obviously you can't snub your nose at people. It's like, it's your money, do what you want with it. And like it's there's arguments to be made that this is a fair value. So not much to say about that. So that's one of those things that you gotta like assess for yourself and stuff like that. Now, Platinum sponsor is interesting because it's basically a gold sponsor, only it's sold out. So obviously the people like it. The people really like it. So what is this thing? And so it's the same, except there's a big thing at the bottom. Guaranteed hotel reservation. And I gotta say, that is probably why it sold out. Because hotel space, having a place to hang your head at a convention is definitely the big thing in the modern convention scene. Being able to know that you have a good hotel space to go to. Honestly, it's kind of the biggest thing. It's honestly why I'm going to this one, right? Because I know it's like my friend's, a decent friend of mine offered me a room, and I'm like, yeah, I've known you for a long time. I've known you almost since I've been in the fandom. So, absolutely, I'll go. Like if you want to hang out, and so we're going, and without that guarantee, I think a lot of furries are like, that's sort of the most stressor part. It's the greatest friction, right? Getting a hotel room is kind of the greatest friction. So I think people are willing to pay a premium to get into a hotel space. And by the way, and that's the ironic part about this Platinum sponsor, it doesn't say you get a hotel room. It's not saying that your money gets you the hotel room. And back in my day, at the first, so just to put us a sidebar here, at the first, I believe it was the second. Furthermore, I believe I roomed with somebody who got Raven God status, and Raven God was like that was the highest thing, and she was a local to the area. So she got like Raven God status, and Raven God status included the hotel room, and it was like a $500 thing. So the fact is that but that was obviously in like Baltimore area, but like it shows you how much things have changed and as far as inflation goes, because now it's like $450 will get you the dinner thing, and this one was probably like $500 or $550 or $600. I don't know. I didn't get it before it sold out, so I don't know the number. But this is not even for getting a hotel room. This is a opportunity, a guarantee to get a hotel room, right? You still probably have to pay for the hotel room, and that's how in high demand these things are. Put a pin on that a little bit, because we're going to go to the final thing, which I kind of glanced at earlier when we were talking about at-the-door pricing. So here's a lifetime membership, and this one is high-end finance, like guru kind of stuff. And this is this kind of stuff that it was this thing that made me like go, I need to think about this more. Is this a good value? What is this? Like, because like I think I've seen kind of lifetime membership packages before, but this one's absolutely pricey, right? It's $2,200. So there's when you're most furries aren't even going to look at this, like, and I would say that it's good. It's actually to your benefit that you are not even questioning this, because look away. This is not spoiler alert. This is not a good deal, and we're going to go over why that is. But as you can see by the length of the video, spoiler alert, I'm going to get into some pretty advanced finance topics. But this is sort of the dorky stuff that, I kind of deal with. It's sort of my comfort zone sort of stuff. In understanding like finances and how it works, and, how to make sure that you're getting a good deal, and whether or not you should take any deals or not, is an important aspect of adulting, as they would say. So is $2,200, if let's just say if you had $2,200, that'd be nice, right? Would this be a good thing to spend it on? Like, let's say you absolutely 100% know you're going to Furry Weekend Atlanta for the rest of your days. Like, every year it comes by, you're going to be there. You're going to be the guy in the front row. Well, if you're going to be the guy in the front row, don't get this, because you only get gold for the first year. That's another caveat. That's fine. We'll go over why it's a bad value. It's a little different. It's a little more complex than that. But basically, let's take this into consideration, right? So you're going to pay $2,200. What do you get as a lifetime member? You get full weekend access. You get a T-shirt. You get the 2020. By the way, you get the 2024 T-shirt. It specifies 2024 there. So I don't think you're going to get the 2025, 2026, 2027, etc. T-shirt, which is kind of silly. I mean, if you're a lifetime member, give them the T-shirt every year, please. Gold benefits for the first year, and then basically you get an attendee badge for life. So for the first year, you get the gold package, and then after that, you get that. Now, there are three aspects here that we need to take into consideration. First off is luxury creep. Taking a lifetime membership where they offer you the gold package for the first year, and then every year after that you are just a vanilla attendee, is going to make the second year a little bit rough, right? You're going to be used to the gold treatment, and then every year after that you're kind of stuck with the vanilla treatment. And by the way, if you have the money to splurge on the gold treatment, like, is there a way you can upgrade but subtract the cost of the thing? Are you going to have to finagle that with them every year just to get the gold treatment every year? Like, there's a whole bunch of things that it kind of forces you into a position, and that's a very important. It's a very important thing. Is that when you use your money and it forces you into a position, it's somewhat called opportunity cost. This is a little bit different, but opportunity cost is when you use your money. Is there something else you could have used your money on that could have been a better value or use of it at the time? So that's the second sort of large financial concept that this kind of violates, because you're basically your money is basically tied up in a regular attendance. So basically, you're preventing yourself from going the extra mile and doing a sponsorship or a super sponsorship, because you've already paid your attendance for life, right? So you're kind of like, I already spent my money on this, so it's like I don't need to spend any more. So the third thing is sunk cost fallacy, and this comes into play where, let's say it's like, oh man, let's say to this year you definitely know you want to attend this convention for life, but what about 5 years from now? What about 10 years from now? What happens if you get sick before a convention happens on one of those years? How long is a lifetime? How long is a lifetime really? Am I going to be alive for 5 years, 10 years? Those kind of things, That second one leans more into the other thing. But sunk cost is basically if you're basically forcing yourself to go to that convention because you paid $2,200 to be at that convention every year. So you're spending that money to force yourself to do something that you in the future may not want to do. And that's called a sunk cost fallacy, right? A cheeky way of looking at it was like somebody's like, you buy a bag of popcorn for $1 and then you put it in the microwave and you accidentally burn it, but then you force yourself to eat it because you paid $1 for it. That's an extreme case, but this same thing kind of applies to here. But all that psychological shenanigans aside, there's another reason that this is a bad thing for you. It's also a bad thing for the convention because they have to keep track of your lifetime membership, and they're not getting. You paid the money, and now they're not going to get anything out of you in the future, and that might give you a sense of entitlement, sort of a luxury creep kind of a thing. But you might feel entitled. It's like I paid $2,200 to you guys back in 2024. I am this great guy, and it's like the people 10 or 20 years from now might not even know you. Like, they might be like, so we're not getting anything out of you, like, because you paid the guys all the way back then $2,200, which may or may not be worth as much as it is now, and it just makes. And on top of that, it's like board things change. How do you know that lifetime membership isn't going to get lost in some paperwork somewhere? There's a lot of risks. All the logistics aside, let's say everything goes perfectly though. Let's shove all the risks aside. Let's shove all the opportunity costs, sunk cost fallacies. Let's shove all that outside the door and all that technical babble. You're thinking too much about it, Rue. Let's talk about when do you get your money's worth. So this is where the spreadsheet comes alive. So now you get the spreadsheet. So we have two spreadsheets. This first one's going to go over a concept of just basically taking the lifetime membership. So here it is. So up here you can see we started the year of 2024 and we are getting a gold member package. So we're going to spend $2,200 on this lifetime ticket, and for the first year we're going to get a gold package at the value of $450. So we got $450 worth of value for our $2,200. Now, that $1,750 of unused value basically sits with Furry Weekend Atlanta. And basically, next year, you attend again. And let's say you attend every year without fail. So you attend this year. So we're going to use the current year's rates. Of course, there's something called inflation, which I'm sure a lot of you are going to be chomping at the bit about that inflation thing. But I'm going to tell you this right now. There's a reason I'm not including it in this calculation, and that has to do with our second chart. And when we get to our second chart, I will explain why I'm not accounting for inflation in this calculation of getting your value worth. I'm just using 2024 rates the whole way down. And that might seem weird to some financial nerds, but as I said, there's a second tab, and we will go over that. So, again, we repeat this process throughout the rest of the time, basically taking $85 away from the amount left to utilize, until finally, in the year of our Lord, 2041, you have finally gotten your money's worth. You have finally broken the threshold of you have now used that $2,200 worth of value on that. Now, as I said, inflation is a thing, and that could push this up a little bit earlier. But as I said earlier, there's a reason I'm not including inflation in this calculation that we will get onto our next tab in our next scenario. So basically, we go down here, and by the year of 2058, you have gotten a value of $1,505. So of that $2,200 that you originally spent, you've gotten $1,505 basically back. So as you can see, like, that's a lot of years, and a lot can happen to a convention in that time. There has not really been any furry convention that has lasted as long as that chart that I've just shown you now. Of course, that can change over the course of the years here. Well, I don't know if that's true or not. I think it's pretty safe to say it's true. That's what, 50, that's 30, 33 years? I don't know if any... I think Anthrocon... No, I don't think Anthrocon's been around for 33 years. So that the length of the chart that I just showed there, like, I can't think of a furry convention that has lasted 33 years, more than 33 years. So, I know Albany Anthrocon, like, I think was 1999. But my mind might be failing me. But I could say that it's a long time. And anything could happen. A convention could close. Something could happen. You could kick the bucket. The convention could kick the bucket. There's a lot of things that can happen. And you've used $2,200 that you could have done other things with. And this is where opportunity cost comes into full swing. Oh, what are you talking about? The stock market tantrum? No, I'm talking about like just basic savings account. So that's the second scenario, and that's why I didn't include inflation. Because the way United States, and this is a United States convention, so you're probably using United States currencies, the way that these guys handle inflation is if there's a high amount of inflation, they're going to increase interest rates. So if you have cash, you could take advantage of those high interest rates by putting that money in a high yield savings account. Now, obviously inflation could be continuing to go across your to go across your interest rate, but like right now the interest rates are 5%. Inflation was, I think, 5% or so for like 2 years. So like, and that's pretty bad. It's not like hyperinflation bad, but it's pretty bad. But it's, you know, because the increased interest rates, if you have cash to spend on this lifetime ticket, you have money to put in the savings account. So to compare apples to apples, I created a second spreadsheet using that method. Instead of giving Furry Weekend Atlanta your $2,200, what we're going to do instead is we're going to put that $2,200, we're going to buy a gold attendance per the agreement, right? Which includes a 2024 t-shirt, by the way, and also all the other goodies. So it's kind of funny that they actually, now that I think about it, yeah, that's actually a good point. Like, I love how they put you get the 2024 FWA t-shirt and you get the gold benefits. So do you get two t-shirts? Oh man, that's okay. That's silly. I just realized that. But yes, you get a t-shirt with the gold benefits. But yes, so you don't have to worry about the t-shirt. If you really want the t-shirt, go for just the regular sponsor. I told you not to do that, but do that anyway. So here's the second spreadsheet. So instead of accounting for if you're getting your money back, what you're going to do is instead we are going to put we're going to take the $2,200 and we're going to pay Furry Weekend Atlanta $450 for the gold membership benefits for the first year, similar to the lifetime thing. And so we have $1,750 left in a high yield savings account, bank account, at 5% gain a year. And basically every year we're going to pull money out of this pool that we created ourselves in this savings account. And by the way, a savings account is perfect for something like this because you're not the idea of a savings account is that you're not using it for day-to-day activities, that you're using it for other activities. So basically, you know, you're only going to be withdrawing money from it once a year for your Furry Weekend Atlanta excursion. Basically, this is a savings account that we're just using for Furry Weekend Atlanta, and we're putting that money in there as if we bought a lifetime membership, but it's our money and we can do what we want with it, regardless if we're going to the convention that year. But already after the first year, you see something interesting. At a 5% yield of interest, basically 2025 comes around and it's time for us to put down that early bird $85 as doing apples to apples, right? Interesting thing happens here. We made $87.50 in interest on that $1,750. So if we look at this and we go up here, you can see the formula, right? And that formula says that we're going to add the interest to what we had prior. So basically taking this cell, adding what's in this cell over here, and then we get this cell. And then we're going to subtract that $85, and we're going to do that down the board. So basically what you're seeing is that the amount in your income in your cash account is increasing, even though you're spending the money. So basically, you still, at the end of all this, so if we go all the way down to 2057, right, you have $1,950.16. And so you you've already basically spent all that money, but it's like you haven't lost anything, right? And by the way, if Furry Weekend Atlanta kicks the bucket, let's say in 2035 or something like that, right? You have now your savings account of $1,700.85.52 all of a sudden has a new purpose, which is you can use it for whatever you want. You can use it as a savings account for some other furry convention or do something else other than that. If you're doing this method, though, and the con kicks the bucket on like 2035, you don't have any cash and you still have $450 worth of value that you didn't utilize, right? Of course, accounting for inflation, right? But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that the opportunity cost of you just giving Furry Weekend Atlanta your money, and that is not great. Now, some people could say, well, it's about the prestige and stuff like that, but it's dangerous. And I'm going to go over how, but like similarly to how I indicated here, I would change the sponsor to include like the registration line benefit to kind of sweeten the deal, because it's to make it actually what I feel is closer to appropriate value for what they're asking for. The thing about it is, I think there's also something that is absolutely necessary for a lifetime membership to make it even worth it. And honestly, I would never take a lifetime membership unless they offered this. And that is that bottom platinum one, that thing that caused the platinum one to sell out, which is the guaranteed hotel reservations, right? The guarantee that I will have a hotel room that I can reserve, right? Even if they didn't pay for it. Obviously, some furries might get greedy and go, well, no, I'm paying $2,200. They should pay for my hotel room. It's like, hotel rooms are expensive and they get more expensive all the time. Like, that's definitely not a good value proposition for Furry Weekend Atlanta, because it's like you would go through that. If you were getting comped the hotel room, they would burn through that $2,200 in 3 years, right? There has to be some risk reward thing that can work into Furry Weekend Atlanta's favor or your favor, and that's the whole idea of parity, right? But to me, like offering, like right now, the big risk proposition of a lifetime membership is, wow, like, oh my gosh, I want to go to Furry Weekend Atlanta this year. One problem though, I can't get a hotel room. So now you're angry. The person who bought the lifetime membership is angry because they can't get a hotel room, and they spent $2,200 of their money to go to Furry Weekend Atlanta every year. That is the thing that they wanted to do. And now they can't do it because they can't get a hotel room. And guess what the Furry Weekend Atlanta's response is going to have to be? Too bad, so sad. It's not a part of the benefits. Right? You have to make your own arrangements. That is going to create a lot of friction. So this is why I don't think anyone should take this. That's a big reason why I don't think anyone should take this. It's too much risk. There's sunk cost fallacy, luxury creep problems, opportunity cost problems. There's just so many problems across every aspect of it. Just say no. Most furries are like, I know I just heard you talk for about 20 minutes or 15 minutes or something on this lifetime membership. I don't even have $2,200, so I don't even know why we're talking about it. But this is the way you got to think about finance. This is the thing that you have to think about when you're thinking about utilization of your dollar bills, right? Because the furry con is a con. No, it's not a con. It's a gathering, but they are there to make money from you, and you need to make sure that you are buying something that you think is worth the price. And if you think the lifetime membership is worth the price, and you listen to my rambles like, oh, heck you with you, Rue, I'm going to buy it anyway. You can't say you weren't warned about some of the risks that could come with it, right? To me, it's absolutely a no-go. It's like basically like no chance, even if I had that much money to just throw at something like that. No. The answer would be no. Now, platinum, obviously there were people who definitely that, the hotel guarantee room thing. Absolutely, if I desperately wanted to go to Furry Weekend Atlanta and I didn't have, a friend who offered a room, that would definitely be thinking about that. That's why I think if they added that to the lifetime membership, and they can kind of put a cap on the lifetime membership in that way. They could say, well, we can guarantee to the hotel these 10 rooms. And by the way, it helps that adding that hotel room guarantee helps with the booking end of things. It kind of helps with the logistics and the convention saying, hey, we have this X person who's guaranteed to come every year, right? And they can start adding that to the numbers and with the correlations and stuff like that, as opposed to it being somewhat of a random thing right now, sort of a chaotic thing. So I think I've rambled about this enough. I think you guys get the point. But I hope that this long video, and if you watched all the way to this point, thank you very much. This is probably boring and droll stuff that a lot of people are like, oh, I don't care about that. I just want to go to a convention and have a good time. Well, then, just say, I just gonna buy attending, and that's all I need. And that's, for most folks, 90%, 99.99% of folks probably, that's excellent. That's probably what you got to do. But it's always interesting to think about what the values of silver sponsor are, not only from an attendee standpoint, but from a convention standpoint, right? It's not all about poo-pooing on the convention. The whole concept of the lifetime membership, not having the hotel room as a guarantee, that's a cause of future friction, right? That's I'm warning the convention by saying it's you don't have a guaranteed hotel room reservation, the opportunity to reserve a hotel room for the lifetime member like you did with the platinum there. That's possible future heartburn. When a lifetime member all of a sudden can't find a hotel room and they get angry at the convention because they didn't offer an opportunity to get a hotel room reserved on their behalf, even though they spent $2,200 back in 2024, right? That's a possible future contention. And it's important when you're putting together these kind of packages to think about things like that, to think about the pressures that it puts on staff, to think about the value that it gives attendees, and to make sure that you're thinking and making sure that there's not going to be any future undue drama from it. But anyways, that's all for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this kind of content, be sure to kick that kick the subscribe button, and kick a comment in the comment section. I'm sure a lot of people's eyes bled over for this one. It was certainly a longer one, but thank you guys for making it through, and have a good one.